tornado.
All right.
Bam! We're live. Sweet.
What is up? It is One of a Kind with RVD, and guys, you won't believe who's here. It's RVD, Rob Van Dam.
Hey,
Rob.
my favorite wrestler.
Man, that's awesome. A lot of people's here too. In the chat, you can tell.
A lot of people. What'd you say?
A lot of people's here too.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah. By the way, I'm like, regardless of the image that some people have from RVD because he smokes, those who hear me articulate my thoughts know a different RVD. Those that watch the show, all I was going to say was that I'm one of those people that you want to edit your writing. I pick out like not every, but I'm really, typos stick out to me like crazy.
Yeah,
and so do grammar mistakes. I mean, if it's like slang, you know what I mean. I'll text you and be like, we're gonna have Sabu on, but. But when it's obviously a mistake or something, it always sticks out because that was just something that I was really good at and understood in school. Hey, come here.
Yeah, you got a new member of the family there, huh?
Yeah, I do. So we got a new puppy, and she's trying to make her day. Oh, don't beat her, baby. Yeah. This is Lovey.
Oh, look at Lovey.
Lovey.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's a Brussels Griffin, just like Barbie. Different color. And she's only 12 weeks old. She's so new.
Man. Oh, look at her.
She's a sweetheart, but she's got a lot of energy and really sharp little needle teeth. Yeah. And little Barbie's so jealous. Like, she's looking at me the whole time like, you still love me, Dad? And get away from him. And yeah, it's amazing because it gave me some fodder for an RVDology episode in the near future. About competition. I always stress that people, that's one way to live. People are so competitive, but then it sets expectations, and it's like you since you're a little kid, you're always in contest, to see who's the best this. And sometimes it's shit that might not give you too much self-esteem. Let's race and see who's the fastest runner and who's the slowest piece of shit in the second grade. I mean, that's how it can feel like, so I have a different, for being someone that's so successful, you might find that ironic that I would say that a passive, more joint communication group effort is something that I find to be a lot more productive, peaceful, positive, and conducive to my desired lifestyle than competing and being boom, get it before someone else gets it, and screw those guys. And but sometimes you have to. But it's amazing anyway that you can see that even in the animals' instincts in nature, how they are.
Like, especially if you have dogs too, because I grew up with like 3 dogs in the house or whatever. If you give one affection, the other one's like, hey, what the heck are you doing? What about me? It's like definitely that kind of thing.
I'm going to do an radiology episode on that in the next few days anyway. I've been taking notes, and it's just, some people hear what I want to say, and those are the people that I want to reach. So yeah, it can be a lot less stressful not thinking that it's a way of life. But if you work at Wall Street, and you're like, boom, while you're sleeping in, while you hit snooze, those extra 9 minutes while you're sleeping in, someone's out there making a sale. Boom, boom, boom. Like, hey, that's a way of living. But I say, let that early bird go eat the worm. I don't like worms anyway, and I'm gonna do my own path and search inside for my own self-validation to feel like my own levels of success or failure based on my own thoughts, not everyone else's. But those are just words. I mean, obviously, I'm a world champion. Come on, I mean, look at me. But
That's it.
But but in real life, this is more along the lines of advice that I would want to pass on to somebody else that's looking for guidance.
When you were in the thick of like wrestling and stuff like that, and you always talk about being in that competitive mode when you were in that, how long did it kind of take you to kind of get out of that? Or do you kind of find yourself when you're even back in the ring at certain points, kind of getting back into that mode? Like,
well, I mean, when I'm in the ring, that's different. You know what I mean? I got to turn it on. I turn it on and I turn it off when I'm home, you know? So that's how that works. I mean, of course I'm still competitive. I still, but I compete against what I think are expectations of how I should do that night, you know, or my own preconceived standards that I set for myself. I'm out there though, being me. I mean, if someone else, when it comes to like, hey, if somebody else wants more ring time, take it. You know, someone wants more camera time, somebody else, you know, thinks that should be me that's on the paper. Hey, you know, I am past all that now. Now, when it comes to any of that, it's just business for me. And I worked a long time to get where I'm at. But when it comes to getting that out of my head, that's something that it's something that took me a long time of being away from the full time, because I was so burnt out from the monotonous schedule of traveling 250 to 300 days a year and not feeling like I was being appreciated, a la compensated enough, either in any way. And so I was so burnt out. Here's one way I'll describe it. No, here's two ways I'll describe it. One, I'm going to use our friend Shad Gaspar as an example, because he said this and it made so much sense. I thought that's a great way to explain the competition, because, you know, I mean, let's face it, with the way that the business is changing to the new work-friendly environment, those people, they don't want to look at it as competition. They want to look at it more like everybody's just working together. They're all friends. There's, you know, it's scripted. You're playing a part, you know, so they want to take all of that out of it, which you can't do. But here's the way that Shad Gaspar, fly high, bro, said. He said that it was that being there in WWE and trying to navigate your job he said it's like running a race that just never ends. Yeah. And he said you keep passing people, and then you see there's some people ahead of you, and you're running and you catch up to them, and boom, you pass them, and then you look and there's more people. And he said that's what it's like there. I thought that was a great way to explain the never-ending fight to reach a point of conclusion or satisfaction, or feel like you're there, like you made it, in that respect. Something else I'll say though, like in my old house in California, I couldn't have any pictures of me up in on the walls. There might have been a couple of family pics that my evil ex put up, maybe, but I didn't have, you know, my Hall of Fame picture hanging on. I didn't have this, you know, this artwork right here, people that fans give me and stuff. Yeah. And the reason why was because I had to separate it so much. I was so burnt out, and the being able to turn it on and turn it off got to where, man, I couldn't turn it off all the way. It's like you're trying to turn your grill off, and that fucking flame won't die. It goes so low, but you still see it's there, and it's like, fuck, you know, it still burns. And now I'm just in such a different place in my life, and I'm so happy with Katie. And it's like, I love seeing pictures of us, because the vibe that comes through those pictures. In my gym, I have all the magazines that I have with me on the cover, framed and hanging on the wall. I could have never done that before, because it took me this long to change my state of mind.
Yeah. And I mean, that makes perfect sense though, too, because when you're in the thick of that, all you're thinking about is competing and like running that race, that never ending race. And then like the last thing you want to kind of think about is when you're home is like, oh, here it is again. Just all
for me.
Yeah.
For me. Yes. Not a lot of, I mean, a lot of wrestlers, you know, I used to, like, we'd be on international trips, and I'd be tripping like I couldn't believe, like on the bus, like maybe Matt Hardy and maybe like Shane Helms or someone, they'd be playing wrestling video games or watching videos of wrestling. And I admired that work ethic. But at the same time, I was like, man, how do they do that? And by the way, that just brought up a memory, like way back before I ever got in the business. If you remember the story, the seed was planted by this mystery lady that was inside Possible Groupie. She said she was a manager and she traveled with some of the wrestlers. Who did she travel with? Because her story is about SD Jones, but I don't feel like that was, maybe it was. I don't know. Hey, by the way, she also told me some stuff that still hasn't come out yet that's relative to all the scandalous stuff some other names anyway that people forgot about, and that just popped in my head. But anyway, she was telling me about, because I was so excited, kid, wrestling. And she was talking about, she was like, the guys were in the hotel and they turned on the TV and wrestling came on. And she said, SD Jones, Special Delivery Jones, was like, oh man, can't we watch something else? And as a kid, I was hurt by that. Like, he doesn't appreciate the life he's got, but yeah, now, I definitely went down that path to where I was like, I need a little separation because the real passive, mellow, peaceful me is so much different than the raging, screaming, flipping, kicking, challenge taking character that I have to get into to do my job.
Yeah. And that's hard to turn off, I'm sure too, especially when you're in that mode of it all too. And I know just even
what we're talking about here.
That's all we're talking. That's it. Guys, if you want to chime in and ask a question, use the super chat. Also, be sure, if you're watching on rvdtv.com or on RVD's channel, YouTube channel, be sure to like, share, comment, get that algorithm cooking, get some stuff happening on here. But yeah, if you want to definitely get a question asked on here, use the super chat and we'll be happy to read it to you. Brian, he even chimes in and says SD Jones, old school. I had one of those, what is it? Those rubber figures, the big rubber figures.
Yeah, LJN.
The LJN figures, yes. I had one of him. I was like, I didn't even know who he was when I got it. I was like, I like this guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Big John Studd. He might have been in the story. And Renee Goulet might have been in the story. Man, names that people forgot about that were on the card that night that I met, and they're walking by with Andre the Giant, Hillbilly Jim, and the Killer Bees, and Lanny Poffo, and I was just like, whoa, I could be a wrestler when I grow up? Like, what? You don't have to be like born a pro wrestler. You can be like a normal person, because nobody in Battle Creek even knew anybody famous,
Yeah,
so they didn't bother dreaming. They were going to work for Kellogg's.
That's it.
Yeah.
The most famous person they meet is Tony the Tiger.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I don't know if it's true or not. Maybe someone in the chat can tell me, but I saw on social media that I've been confirmed. And I saw a piece, sometimes the graphics confuse me because fans are so good at creating their own graphics. Oh yeah. Sometimes I look at something and I think it's actually company made and it's like something a fan made and I'm confused, but am I in the new video game, the WWE?
Yes, you are.
For sure. Okay.
For sure. You were on the list I saw. So yeah.
The other day. Okay. So the other day I saw a bunch of responses about, yes, RVD is in the game. And I didn't take that I want to do a little research. I didn't want that to just be fact. Now I'll consider it fact. You're my research, but yeah. But I didn't know what a variable character is or whatever. And I never knew. I thought that sounded like last year or the year before, it seems like I thought that I was in like you had to buy an extra pack in order to get me to download me or something. And I think you were
downloadable content is what it was. So later on, a lot of times fans they'll buy extra stuff to get I want to get RVD on the game. So they have to buy this content to get it.
Right. That's okay. So that's what I understood about that one. And then this one, they said I'm on the game, but I'm a variant or something. And I didn't know the difference. And I tweeted, I said, so what does that mean? Like I'm on the game, but I'm not on the main roster. And, because I knew they would tell me. And they said, from what I understand, they said that I am on the main roster, but it's a variant, meaning not the same year as the other wrestlers. Like it's an older version of me. Is that what it is?
because what they're doing is, since it's WrestleMania 40, they're doing like a WrestleMania, I think, like story mode basically. So probably whichever, like one of the WrestleManias that you were a part of, that's going to be the variant that you are.
Okay. Ooh, maybe they'll put the banned Japanese flag on that the action figure got recalled before they made mass production of it.
Really? That got banned?
Yeah, so the WrestleMania, was it 22 when it was old school ECW versus new school ECW in Detroit? Whatever that was.
Let me see here.
Yeah, whatever that was. I had this white outfit with the Japanese like sun rising flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they made the action figure, and then they decided that they couldn't sell it because there was a conflict in there was something to do with the relationship between Japan and Korea, and somehow this flag was going to be considered offensive, maybe like the rebel flag here to some people, but either way, they pulled the figure. It never made it to the stores, but according to legend, they did actually do a short run of about 30 of them, is what I was told, that were in the office at is it Mattel that does? I think
Mattel does the figures.
Yeah. Okay. And so I guess
Rob, that might have been Jack's Pacific back then, though. I think.
Okay, maybe it was just last year or 2 years ago, but okay.
Okay. No, then you're right. It's Mattel. Then it's Mattel.
Okay, so so either way, the figures are out there, and when you find one in the box, it's worth a lot of money. It's what, I mean, I've seen them a long time ago for $500 or $600, and I was like, damn, man, like I need that for my collection. But then I see a lot of them that are out of the box too, and I have one of those I have like at least 4 action figures. Some people don't even know about that are like this, that didn't make it to mass production, that are prototypes or, a sample from a small test run or whatever. But I forgot what I was going to say. I just looked at you and you made me laugh. The action figure. So I was told, so I don't know how reliable it is, but I was told that there was about 30 that were in the the toy office, and that some of the workers took them home or whatever. I have signed about between 6 and 8 in the box. And so if there was 30, then, that's a lot. And I don't know if all 30 were in the box. I assume they were, but you know what assuming does. I mean, how do they get out of the box anyway if they put them in the box?
That's it. Yeah. Maybe it's like Toy Story. They came to life. And they
but anyway, so what I wanted to say was I put on Twitter. So what does that mean? Like I'm not in the main roster on the game? I may have been on the main roster. And one kid on Twitter, I assume he was the kid, wrote like, he wrote, what did he write? I wanted to show the tweet, but it was like several days ago. And I was thinking, well, I mean, I'm above burying some poor kid. But then again, if you're going to choose me to come after and criticize, then you do need to learn those consequences.
Right.
So there's that value as well. But what the kid wrote was, boy, your attitude sucks. And then he wrote in another tweet, and then he wrote, who butt hurt you? Or something. And kid, sorry if I offended you by not knowing the video game terms. But I don't know, and I have a different life. So, or not video game. Actually, no, it is the video game we're talking about.
Video game, yep.
I'm confused. Action figures, video games. But yeah, so yeah, I almost wanted to put that kid on blast, but I was like, he obviously misunderstood what I was saying. And it's just like when I write stuff and I'm like, it could be anything. It could be just like, shouldn't people have to know how to drive to be on the road? And certain people will take that and they'll read it like, shouldn't people have to learn how to fucking drive to be out here? Fuck! That's how they read my thoughts sometimes from their responses, like, whoa, hey, somebody needs to settle down. Someone got up on the wrong side of the bed. Like, yeah, you guys are stupid. Stuff could get lost. In translation with a text, a lot of your emotion gets lost, but that's not RVD's default or go-to mode at any time.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, it's funny though that is people read text or they read a tweet and that they'll read it in their own voice of how he's ticked, something's up. It's like,
and we probably all do that. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Sometimes. I definitely do it. I know I do sometimes.
Sometimes you have to fill in the blanks.
Yes. Rob, so somebody actually on the chat here, I won't pull it up because I want you to kind of make a guess here.
Okay.
How many times do you think you have been in a WWE game?
How many times do I think I've been in a WWE game?
Yes, how many times?
Well, can I do some thinking? Yeah, of course I can, right? You're not going to ban me from thinking, are you?
No.
I have that cert that says think while
unless I read a bad text that I think's negative, then yes.
Okay, well, I was there from 2001 to 2007. So let's say if I was in one every year, that would be 7. And then, so I don't know, I'm going to say 9.
You're close.
10. No.
You're still close.
A little higher.
A little higher. Yep.
Hey.
You were in.
Lovey loves that song.
She's digging it, Seth. Seth, if you're in the chat.
Barbie's being so good. She's just completely ignoring her. No selling it. So how many have I been in?
According to vpool88 here, Rob Van Dam is featured as a playable character in the WWE 2K24 roster as part of the Legend roster. This marks the 11th appearance for RVD in the main WWE game series. So how about that?
Well, that's pretty cool. I wonder if back in the day, maybe I was in more than one because I remember there was that Crush Hour.
I was going to bring that up because that was like
vehicles
a metal
shooting
game,
each
wasn't
other.
it? Yeah.
Most of that stuff I have wrapped in plastic still. Like,
really?
So I know the artwork from the covers, but I haven't played most of them. Sometimes in a fan competition, but I get my ass kicked. Once video games came up with more than 2 buttons, I was lost. That was
I'm so overwhelmed trying to play them now, and I played
punch, jump, got it.
That got those ones down. Even when it came to Sega Genesis, I got confused. I was like, I got to hit all these buttons at once, try to make that happen.
There's a game, the only one that I played, I think, that had more than 2 buttons, or that was confusing anyway, but I got really good at it, called Virtual Fighter. And that was PlayStation, I think. Well, it was at the arcade when I played it.
Oh, okay, arcade game. Yeah.
It was like Mortal Kombat, but brought up to I don't want to say futuristic, but look kind of 3D, whatever they did with the art and graphics and stuff. And it was so fun. But that'd be like, I wanted to leg sweep somebody. I got to hit the joystick down twice and then hit both buttons at the same time. Boom, boom, boom. Leg sweep. Boom, boom, boom. Push up and hit kick to do a jumping kick, and it was like you had to learn, push back in this button to do a backflip. Dude, I think I can still play it. I can't believe
I think you could. It's almost like riding a bike. Once you pick it up, you're kind of back in the mode of it all.
Yeah, I want to play it.
Let me play the game.
Hey, I don't know if you should be playing with that lighter. You're only 12 weeks old.
Dog years. She's not even up for dog years yet. She don't even 7.
Yeah.
Oh, look at her.
Baby.
Now, does Barbie get along with her for the most part? Or
not really yet. Not really yet. She kind of thinks that she's annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's too. It's so funny to see Barbie looking big because Barbie's 11 or 12 pounds, but
yeah.
Lovey is how much do you weigh, Lovey? 3.5 pounds. Oh, she got the other lighter. Hey, Mommy said to get that from you. Whoa, now she got the duty. Okay, don't call parent services on me, whatever that is. So yeah, but she's getting better. She's only. I think they've only been together 2 days or something, and Barbie's getting better. But at first, Barbie would nip at her, and we're like, whoa, she's an infant, don't be too rough. And she's getting better. But this little dog talks a lot of shit, so I don't blame Barbie.
Right, yeah. You got to stake your territory kind of thing.
You heard her, man. She's like, that was her talking shit to Barbie.
That's it, yeah.
Come on, what do you got? Come on, let's go. You can't do nothing. Get me. I'm right here. I assume that's don't assume. Okay.
Rob, did you have a dog growing up? I forget.
Yeah.
Did you?
Always. I come from a dog family. Although like, yeah, no, we always had dogs, and the dogs were like part of the family, but they weren't like now. Like, I just put like, I was in front of my mom a couple of years ago, and I put like a dog treat in my mouth, and it's sticking out, right? And I like to do that and bend down so that the dog will like take it out of my mouth. My mom was like, "Ew, Rob." It's like there's nothing even touching my mouth except for the dog biscuit, you know? Like, how's that gross? But yeah, we've bonded so much now that I'll be eating, and I let Barbie eat right off my fork.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I did that all the time.
Not that I see. It brought us closer.
That's it. It's a bonding experience.
Mm-hmm. And she's been clingy too since Katie brought Lovey home. Barbie's been like, if I get up and start walking, she's right beside me. This is my daddy.
That's it. Don't forget about me.
Dogs are great, by the way. I don't get people that don't like dogs or don't understand them or don't feel their love. It's like, I think that's like I always say, I'm learning more and more people have no empathy, you know, like they're more, which is part way to psychopathy because you don't, you know, think about you can't understand that other people's feelings, and it's not a factor that goes into your thought process. And I think maybe those people are the ones also that just look at dogs, you know, like they're annoying or something. And like, why is this dog? Oh, you know, dogs like, love me. Dude, you ever watch these videos on Instagram of people dumping dogs off like in alleyways or whatever, and the dog's chasing the car? It's so heartbreaking.
Oh my, I couldn't watch that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. I watch a lot of real life shit that you got to be subscribed to because it would be censored or whatever, because it's real life. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't make me happy, but I like to see what real life is, even if it is somebody getting decapitated. I like to know, compared to the Hollywood version, you know, what's it look like when somebody really does get shot and fall down, as opposed to. So I subscribe to a lot of shocking
stuff. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I have to say, I don't think I've ever seen anybody actually get decapitated. So.
There you go. Yeah. You know, I saw a video of that yesterday. Construction worker, and there's a lot of heavy rolling pipes involved, and he was in the wrong place at the same time. But I don't know for sure that that's real anyway, and that's always a factor. You know, I was like, well, I don't even know. Yeah. But yeah, either way, I do. You know, I watch a lot of that shit. What was I just gonna say about? Was it about Instagram? No. Was it about watching shocking videos? I don't know. Carry on. I forgot. I lost my thought.
You subscribe to stuff. Let's see.
Yeah, I think I was going to bring up something that I either saw on Instagram but either way, it's not that important. Or it'll come back up.
Red Rum says puppy power. Jacob Ayers has a question. If you guys if you want to get some questions, definitely use Super Chat, but this is a pretty good one here. Because Sabu brought this up last week, actually talked about FMW. Also, Rob, do you have any stories of working in FMW in Japan? I know you only wrestled 2 matches for FMW, but must have been cool working with Hayabusa again.
I only remember the match with the Dudley Boys, so I guess that would have been the other match that I had if I had 2.
Yeah.
Dude, it was cool. You know, I had already been a star in my own right. For as big of a star as I was then in the early to mid 90s, but I'd already done most of my career in Japan, you know, so those are my people. But they knew me from All Japan, which is a bigger company. It's like the WWE of arguably, because All Japan and New Japan were head to head. If people don't know, there was one company way long ago. It was like 73, I believe. Not after that. I think it was 73 that Ricky Dozen's company, the wrestlers, for whatever reason, they split up. Oh, he died. Anyway.
He got murdered, right?
I don't remember that story, but that does sound familiar right now. I can't remember why though. Anyway, his daughter, by the way, is in the office at Noah. So that's who I talked to, like when they would book me and who would take me around and stuff, you know. So I thought that was really cool that she's Ricky Dozen's daughter. But anyway, Giant Baba went and formed All Japan, and Inoki had New Japan, and they were both competition there. I worked for All Japan from 93 to 90. I've been saying 97, but now I realize it was longer than that because it was,
really?
because it was 99 when Baba died, and I was still wrestling for All Japan, and I did one tour with Mrs. Baba when she had taken over, and then of course Misawa left and started Noah, and then so when I went to FMW, I thought it was cool to wrestle for another different company over there. Like, I always think that's cool. Like, all the wrestlers that are the most well-rounded are the ones that travel around and wrestle in a lot of different groups, you know?
Yeah.
FMW, not known for having the best wrestling. It was a gimmick. I mean, it did have some good wrestlers, but it was known. What made it different was that it had the gimmicks, the barbed wire matches, the fire exploding, all that crazy stuff, which my matches weren't. Like I said, they did have good matches too, but that's more what that was known for and what made that FMW stand out. And I wouldn't say that wrestlers that get a lot of experience wrestling death matches for garbage promotions, I'm not going to say they're going to be any more well-rounded than anybody that just wrestles in their backyard necessarily. But in the traditional sense, you know, if you spent some time wrestling in Germany for their promotion and learn their style, and then Mexico and learn their style, and Japan and learn their style, and even in the States, you know, the indie scene and then WWE scene, it's so different as a wrestler. Like I mentioned before, when you first get there, if you got a lot of experience and they're not just training you from zero, or even if maybe, but usually it's just like, whoa, slow down, because on the indie scene, like, you don't have to sell.
Yeah, you don't.
But then you learn that's where the money's at.
Yeah, that's where you make the bread is in between selling and stuff like that.
People are only going to invest their emotions in you if you give them a reason to. Mm-hmm. You know, you can have all the coolest moves in the world, and if you don't get in a little trouble where you could use their support to help push you through, then, you know, what are they there for?
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like, that's what people get tuned into, is the little details in between the matches and telling that story. So I'm reading here, Rob. It says on December 8th, 1963, Ricky Dozan was stabbed once by Katsushi Murata, a member of the Nikyayo Dentai Sumi, a Yakuza organization, after an altercation in a nightclub. Okay,
yeah, I thought it was the Yakuza. I didn't want to say for sure. So another wrestler mafia story to, you know, put in the books. And by the way, Katie said December 8th is Lovey's birthday.
Ooh, December 8th.
Oh, the Barbie's sitting way over there.
Hey, Robby.
Man, so yeah, so like just 3 months. That's it. Wow.
Yep. Little baby.
She's an infant.
Just a baby. That's it. Chaos Theory says Virtual Fighter was way back in the day. That was really one of the first fighting
Virtual
games.
Fighter, by the way.
Virtual, yeah.
What did you say?
Virtual Fighter.
That's not what I heard you say.
What did I say? What did I say? Virtual? Did I say virtual?
They heard you.
Uh-oh.
It was the second word. It's all right. It's all good.
Okay. One of the first fighting games that hit the States aside from Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Yeah, but Virtual Fighter was the first 3D one, what you were saying.
Well, yeah, I guess so. The other thing that was really groundbreaking, but that was way before. That was the first Laserdisc game, and that was Dragon's Lair, and that was the first one to go from a video game to look like you're playing an actual cartoon. But that was way long ago.
Yeah.
And you would hit the joystick once, and that would like play a scene out for you. You know what I mean? You'd like run through and duck and all this. So, you know, I don't know. I never got good at that one. But
it was like choose your own adventure kind of thing.
Yeah, I believe it was. I believe it was, and then, you know, since it was an actual cartoon, a lot of it had to be predetermined of the action you were going to see. So, but people remember that one too. You guys remember Dragon's Lair, and it looked cool as hell, but I only played it a few times, never got good at it. Yeah, that was like 83 or something. Look that one up. I probably hit that one on the head. Damn.
Oh, Chaos Theory said, holy hell, Dragon's Lair was great. And D. Cole does call me out. Virtual Farter.
I knew they heard you.
Dang it. Is that what I said? Virtual Farter?
Yeah.
Dang it. Hey,
that's a different game.
Seth chimes in for $9.99. Thanks for joining, Seth. What's up, Van Dam fam? Rob, have you seen any of the Tiffany Stratton highlights from the WWE pay-per-view Elimination Chamber? She reminds me of Kurt Angle, a big, tough Olympian with natural charisma. What's Katie think of Tiffany Stratton?
Well, first, it's an easy question to answer because I got to say no. I don't think that I did see, but I saw a couple clips and I didn't know who the girls were. So maybe now that I think about it, what did I see? Let me see.
She's blonde, very well built, kind of the same stature of like Bianca Belair almost, I would say.
I'm trying to think of some of the high spots that I saw. 'Cause that's all I saw was like one move at a time.
Off the top of the pod onto everybody. She did like a senton.
I did see that.
Yeah. And she's super strong. Like she had 2 women on her shoulders and stuff like that. And I think did like the Ken Kennedy move where he flips over on it, like almost like a forward Samoan drop in a way.
RVD move too, but go ahead.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Do I need to bring up RVD doing that in the 90s with Jerry Lynn?
Oh, that's right.
Rolling into the corner, into a moonsault, into a.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Dude, I'm the best. Try and find something I didn't do first. I actually got that from I didn't make that up. I got that from well, they called him Max Moon in WWE for a while. Pat Tanaka's partner in Orient Express. The fuck's the kid's name?
Let me see here. Because Conan was Max Moon too for a little bit, wasn't he?
I don't know about that.
I think Paul Diamond.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's funny I call him a kid because he's older than me, but yeah. But he would do that. That was his finishing move way back in the day, and I took that and used it in my repertoire. Do you know Tiffany Stratton, baby?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on her?
I love her. I like watching her. I love her gear because she has like Barbie looking gear, and then her body. I mean, her body. She has like a really cute muscle body and a really pretty face. And I like her hair. She's glamorous.
Cool.
And her moves are cool, like gymnastics type moves.
Her entrance video too is very Barbie-esque. If you've seen her entrance video, she's got like the font and all that stuff. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Cool. Sounds like she gets 2 thumbs up here then.
She's big time. She's
cool with Katie, she's cool with me. That's the rules we go by.
That's how it rolls. That's how it rolls. She was actually trained by Greg Gagne too. So
okay. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Add her to the school, the long list of pros that come out of that territory, huh?
Come out of the AWA territory there.
I just heard that the other day. I was watching an interview that Greg Gagne did. I think it was, yeah. And anyway, it was either that or one that led to where they went through the list of everybody, like, it was everyone, from the guys in the next generation, Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, and I think Nord the Barbarian and Mark Laurinaitis, right? I think no, the Road Warrior. Well, anyway, yeah. And then younger guys like Jerry Lynn and whoever else he mentioned. But yeah, man, that's pretty impressive.
I know they had Brad Reagan's training a lot of people there. I know
that's what I thought. I was just thinking, just because Greg Gagne as a trainer doesn't mean he's necessarily hands-on the entire time, but it's still going to be his way and his teachings that are being passed on. So I think that makes it okay. Absolutely.
Hey, I did want to bring obviously up some of the topics, like somebody that you really was pivotal at the beginning of your wrestling in-ring career, quote unquote, was Virgil passing away. Yeah. Hey, look at that. Look at that, huh? Look at that sweet shirt you got too, Rob, the Ghost Rider shirt on.
Yeah, man. I remember that shirt. I used to have everything Ghost Rider. Everything. If I didn't have it, I would buy it, whether it was a wallet, or a keychain, or an action figure, or a statue, or a t-shirt, or a skateboard. I guess I'm a hobbyist, and that was my hobby for like the first 40 some years of my life. Not so much anymore. Now I get gifts and stuff, and I'm like, eBay. But yeah, man. I got nothing but good things to say about Virgil. Like every time I saw him, he was humble, of course, as you would expect him to be, but he was in a good mood. Happy, he put off a good vibe. I feel people's energy and judge him by that. And he was like a happy, good guy that was, probably hurting inside a lot more than he ever showed me. But, obviously I met him when I was a kid, when I kissed Ted DiBiase's foot in the ring. And at that time, I was such a big fan, like 13 or 14 years old, whatever year that was, 85 or 86. Maybe I was 15, but
I think it was 87. I think I looked it up before the show. I think it's 87.
If it was 87, then I was already 16. Man, that's too old to be kissing another man's foot.
What?
For $100? What the fuck? Didn't I get a fucking allowance? Thanks, Dad.
That's too old to be kissing.
Dad for kissing Ted's feet.
I was watching them on TV, and I told you earlier, no one in Battle Creek knew anybody famous. So it was a huge deal that they were bringing the cameras and shooting a special segment on the house show that was at the Kellogg Center Arena. And we all knew when that moment came because it was just special. Like the show changed a few minutes into the match. It was like it was going into intermission as far as like a little break and the lights changing. But then special lights came on and all this shit. And then boom, everyone started, and me and Dango rushed. We rushed all the way down from the bleachers all the way down to the gate, the guardrail. And then Ted DiBiase and Virgil came out. Man, they were bigger than life. You know, I was overwhelmed. That's why, like, when I need a volunteer from the audience, come up and make an asshole out of yourself. I was like, oh my God, that's me. And I went out there. I mean, I couldn't kiss his foot fast enough, and I slapped Virgil's shoulder, you know, like, hey, Virgil. And I was just like, yes, that was the best thing that's ever happened in my life. And that's how I felt at 16, making that $100, you know. So everyone knows that story, even though I may not have heard it told from me like that. But Virgil's always been around since then. And Sabu used to tell me that Virgil was at it was one of my first, I think it was my second show. I don't know. One of my first 4 shows. So this is 1990. And it was in Virginia, Wheeling, Virginia. And the promoter was a guy called the sadistic Dr. Sam Siegel that promoted us. Small show. It was an outside show at a track, like a running track, football field kind of thing. And I don't remember, but Sabu says Virgil was there and that he was telling people he's going to WWF because this was before he. Wait, how could this have been before he went? If I was a kid, that doesn't add up at all. You know what? Sabu said that Virgil was at that show and that he had suits and he was showing people suits and saying, I'm going to wear this, I'm going to wear this. And that he was telling everyone in the dressing room that he's going to be on WWE television. And Sabu says that he thought that Virgil was full of shit till I saw him on TV. But that doesn't chronologically work since he was already Virgil in 87 when I was a kid. Yeah. You just made me realize some truth about my life that I didn't know. So I'm gonna have to call Sabu on that one. You must remember because he was in the business before me, like 5 years before me. So he must have seen Virgil probably at a different show and thought that it was that one.
Interesting. Yeah, I heard another story too because Virgil's from the Pittsburgh area, Wilkinsburg neighborhood.
Okay, yeah, that's where Sam Siegel was from.
Yeah, and so he ended up. I heard a story that he was getting ready to go to WCW apparently, and he was telling people that like something about the NWO he was mentioning, and sure enough, there he was in the NWO like the next night or the next week or something like
right
that.
On. Yeah, man. R.I.P. He, a lot of people would like to make fun of him, and that's one of those things where it's human nature, to want to put others down to make yourself feel better, right? Mm-hmm. So, for instance, fans, normal people being like, oh my God, that is so sad. I saw Virgil at the train station or outside the grocery store or at a Walmart trying to sell his pictures. Like, oh my God, he's got no shame. And then, okay, in reality, how many people watching this show, if you could get paid to write your fucking name, right, how many of you wouldn't do it and do it everywhere you fucking could? Yeah. You're writing your name on a piece of paper or picture. Yeah. One, there's no expenses. Another one, there's a little expense maybe, or you got the pictures for free. But either way, I always feel blessed to, I love doing the autograph signings and conventions and stuff. And I never forget, and I'm so blessed that that, you know, I'm writing my name, and I take pride in it. I have a very cool signature. I try to give the fans the most I can, because all I'm doing is writing my name, but they're going to keep that forever, and it means a lot, and they pay a lot for it. And it's like, what, you know, I that wasn't offered when I was in school, and they were trying to teach us about career options. I remember a teacher saying, does anybody want to make a living off of just writing their name and giving it to people?
Giving it to people, anybody.
Yeah, because I would have fucking gotten in the business a lot sooner. But it's really cool to be able to do that, and it means a lot. And it is very personal. But if you look at it from a working perspective and point of view, you shouldn't take that for granted. I don't. A lot of the boys, you know, if you hadn't thought about that, think about that. It's amazing.
And, you know, from the perspective of Virgil too, it speaks to the hustle, like that he's just doing the hustle, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like,
yeah, I wish I had a lot more hustle in me, because as I've said a lot of times, man, I know a lot of people that can't sit around and do nothing. It drives them crazy. I love doing nothing.
Yeah.
So much that I get a lot less done than I could or than I want to sometimes. But if I wanted to bad enough, I guess I would do that, because my priorities would change. That's what I tell myself.
Yeah. Wow, we just got a big super chat here, Rob.
No, I've knocked that over like 5 times.
Ryan Butler, thank you for the $50. He says, I'm having a hard time getting motivated.
$50. That's a fucking huge.
Right? That's our biggest one yet, Ryan. So thank you.
Damn, 5-star fucking funding. 5-star funding there. He's our financer.
That's it. I'm having a hard time getting motivated, he says. I'm in my doctoral program and don't have to do it. I also run my own tutoring business and am a 3rd grade teacher. Holy crap. High success with each. Rob is a role model to me. Coaching words, please. Rolling Thunder. Rob, what kind of advice you have for him spinning all these types of plates here? Holy smokes.
Yeah, well, definitely I can talk on that for a moment. You know, I struggle with motivation all day, every day, so I can relate. How long has it been, baby, since I told you I got no motivation?
I don't know, long time.
She never listens to me. I was just saying that like 2 hours ago before you took a nap. Here's my example. A lot of people that work out, especially if you're going to make a living off of your body, but don't even have to go that far. A lot of people that are into fitness, boom, they get up, they hit the gym first thing in the morning, get it out of their way. I've been wanting to do that for 30 years and I can't do it. Like, I can do it once or twice, but I can't get into the routine of it. I don't feel like working out in the morning. I'm not warmed up yet. And I tell myself that all fucking day. And a lot of times it's 2 a.m. and I'm hitting the gym because my life is that open, because I can, but all day, that's what I'm getting ready to do is work out. That's almost every day for me. All right. Sometimes I hit it, like if I have something to do, like the show or a trip, that motivates me to hit it a little bit earlier, because I don't like working out at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. I do have a great workout, but the reason I do that is to punish myself. And then I think, you know what, because I made myself do this, tomorrow I'm going to do it first thing. I don't, but I fool myself with that all the time, nonstop. I don't know how many times I've asked my hypnotist friend. He does a hypnotist show out here, Mark Savard, and he has all these motivational fucking DVDs he used to sell on willpower, diet, this and that. And I've asked them, like, do you got something like for motivation to like make me do something when I don't have to do it? And this is what he's talking about. If I don't have to do something, I can't fucking do it. I can only get ready 2 minutes before I have to leave, or before I'm supposed to be somewhere even. And I got 15 minutes worth of stuff to do, but I don't realize that. I can't, you know, I'm the worst, bro. One way to motivate you is to say you could always be worse. Imagine getting scripts sent to you for parts in movies that you're in, and you don't even look at the fucking script until the day of. Not because you're so busy, but because you didn't get around to it because you didn't have to. That's me. And I've just always been that way. Doesn't mean that I'm helpless. I know I could get better. I'm positive. And so a lot of people listening to this would be like, oh, Rob, you motivated me, and now I'm finding out you're a loser. No, I'm telling you, I can relate to you. I get done what I get done, and it is with a struggle. You know, Lou Ferrigno told us some great advice. Did he tell us, or maybe he just, okay, yeah. When it comes to working out in the morning, I might even ask them about this. Sometimes I bring it up, but I'm like, oh, how can I make myself do stuff that I don't have to do? Because I love doing nothing, you know. Yeah. But that's because my spirit health, which is connected to my sense of mind and peacefulness, is my priority, and so that's why. Which I think it should be with a lot of people. That's why doing nothing, being comfortable, is king, and it's hard to beat, you know. So you got to look at the bigger picture. You got to look at your goals. You know what? In the afternoon, at nighttime, super early in the morning, now never feels like a good time to work out for me. Almost never. Yeah. 99% of the time, later sounds better. You know, if you want to look like The Rock or Batista or something, obviously you got to be obsessed with it. You know, I'm not. But I do get really good gains. I love seeing myself getting pumped. I love seeing the veins popping out, you know, like they're fucking hoses in the mirror, like, you know, just fucking everything. And the endorphins that releases, I never leave the gym thinking like, that workout really sucked. I feel worse than when I went there. It's always a good thing. And so why can't I just focus on the reward at the end? And why can't that be so important that it makes it more important on my priority list? That is really what you're looking at if you break it down, your own priority list. And if you don't have to do something, but you want the results bad enough, then I think you do it. You know, I really want to make my book. I want my book to be out so everyone can read it and learn all this stuff that no one even knows. And do I want it bad enough to where I spent time working on it today or yesterday or the day before? Well, I guess not. I think about it all the time, and I think about how I'm going to work it in to my to-do list and learn how to commit to it so that I can make it more important. And eventually, I feel like it comes around, you know, if it's meant to be. Like that's my default that I go back to. I have so many projects, the scripts I've written part of, books, stories, different things. I have stuff that I've built that's half done that I may never finish, and that's just part of production. And that's how I look at it. You know, sometimes in production, like if you're in the TV movie business, sometimes you buy scripts and the movies are never made from it. So the guy that wrote the script is excited, you know, that you optioned, but then nothing happens from it or whatever. That happens all the time. Maybe you maybe you shoot a pilot and the series never gets picked up. You know what? That's part of production. Same thing with setting up, going through a lot of work, setting up sets, stages, planning on doing stuff, and then sometimes it's a bummer, it's a failure, and you just got to look at it like, hey, that's just part of production. That's part of the process. So when it comes to being motivated, you got to look at the reward, obviously, and how much do you want that, and how much do you want your life to include that, and you got to feel like rewarding yourself. You know, I make myself work out, and I'm glad I did, but I totally can look in the mirror and say, if I worked out twice as long, twice as hard, I would get better results. Then why don't I do it? It's not that easy because priority list, you know, whether spending time with your family, playing with puppies, loud puppies, whether it's you know, and for some people it is working out, but whatever it is, and depends on what you got going on with your life and how busy you are and everything. You prioritize everything, and when you think about it, you pretty much do things in that order, and some of it's more important because it has to be, You know, you have to go to work. You got to pay the mortgage, whatever. And you'd rather be fishing or whatever the fuck it is. But you ultimately make your decisions based on your own priority list. So you got to look at that. Write down, I would say, write down your priorities, or at least get to know them. Have at least a visualization of what your priorities really are. And sometimes just bringing that out. You know, awareness is always the key. Always the first step to everything is awareness, realizing, and maybe if something's out of order, just that alone, just being aware of it and realizing might make you change it, might make the differences that you're looking for.
Right. I think writing out a list and writing it down is really good advice too, to just kind of keep it all in focus and see. Yeah, I think another thing that I know when I have all this stuff I have to do, I get critical of myself, like, oh, I should be getting up earlier, I should be doing this more and stuff like that. And I think that can kind of be a hurdle that kind of demotivates you too in a certain way too, because you think you're not doing the best that you can. So like, don't be so critical on yourself is something I've kind of found. And then the aspect of like, how much is that going to make you better? What you're going to do, is that going to make you, ultimately you're thinking of your own well-being. So if this is going to make your well-being better, the better part of you as an overall whole, I think that's a little bit good of a motivator too.
Yeah, I think, you know, you point that out to yourself. I think you'll get it done. You'll get there.
Yeah.
So. It's hard when you're in a position where you don't have to do anything. It's hard to make yourself do it, because having to do something is the best motivator when you have to. You know, damn, I got to leave in an hour. I have to get this 30-minute workout in, or I got to shower, or whatever. That's the best motivator. And number 2 is not even close. That's way down the list. Whatever it is you're going to find to motivate you, but it is going to be this: just wanting the big picture enough.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah. Well, thank you, Ryan, for that very generous donation there. We appreciate it, and good question too, obviously. So, thank you.
Rob, good luck with that. I struggle with it every day, and I imagine a lot of people do, if not everybody.
Heck, and if you're tutoring, if you're a third grade teacher and you're going for a doctorate, it's like, that's crazy. Like that, yeah. And you got to be your own motivator too. That's
give yourself a break. Don't be so hard on yourself. You're crushing it.
Mm-hmm. Another talent that passed away this week, I don't know if you had any interactions with him, was Ole Anderson, Rob. He's been known to be a curmudgeon backstage at certain points, but obviously a big influence on the business. One of the original Four Horsemen. Did you have any interactions with Ole, crossed paths or anything like that, or was that?
Did you say he's been known to be curmudgeon?
A curmudgeon, yeah, kind of
I've
like.
never heard that word.
Never heard that before
in my life.
I'm gonna look up the definition.
53 years and 11 weeks.
Curmudgeon. Let me see here. I've been hearing that term used quite a bit for him lately.
Must be a Pittsburgh expression.
It says, okay, so curmudgeon, a noun, a bad-tempered person, especially an old one. So I don't know if it's very fair to call him old when he was a curmudgeon if he was earlier on, but it says a bad tempered.
Yeah. So yes, I did. In December of 1992, RVD got hired by WCW. By the guy that was running WCW at the time, Mr. Bill Watts, the cowboy. He was friends with Ron Slinker. That was my in. I changed my name from Rob Van Dam to Robby V while I was there, because Cowboy Bill Watts didn't want to use Van Dam on TV because there was already a Van Dam out there. Bill seemed to like me. I wrestled a little bit in December. Wrestled in January. In February, I went to Japan for my first tour of Japan, February of 93. Brady Boone got me hooked up with that, by the way, by hooking me up with Lord Blears. And Lord Blears in Hawaii booked me in Japan. And that's a name from way back that some people might be familiar with. I won't be surprised if you're not. Anyway, I went to Japan. Now, WCW had a working relationship with New Japan, with Inoki. They would trade talent back and forth, Muda, whatever. All Japan didn't have that with WCW. All Japan, if anything, they would work with WWE. So for me to go to All Japan while I was working with WCW was kind of like, working on the other side of the fence, with the competition. Prospectively, it wasn't something that was done, but I was told by Bill Watts that I could do it because it was an obligation that I was finishing that had been booked before I started with WCW. I went to Japan, got over there really big, knew I had a job as long as I wanted one there. Baba was so cool. But when I came back, Bill Watts was no longer the boss. Ole Anderson was.
Oh.
And, yes, sir. And Ole Anderson didn't seem to have the same interest in Robby V that Bill Watts did. I found myself right away being unhappy. I was either being jobbed out on TV, or I was giving people tryouts in dark matches that wouldn't even be shown.
Wow.
And I was already like, dude, I'm making more money on the independent scene than I am here, and I'm on TV doing what? Just getting beat. This ain't good for me. And by the way, also during that time, Ole Anderson banned using the top rope. Because he wanted to see wrestling go back to the fundamentals. I was allowed to do the split-legged moonsault because I was just bouncing off of it, not climbing up it and jumping off of it. So that was an exception. But anyway, I ended up leaving. I ended up quitting. The agent was Mike Graham. Mm-hmm. And, I told him, I don't. He had kept asking for my contract. Since I started, I never turned in a contract. And every few weeks, I would tell him I lost it, and Mike Graham would bring me another contract. Okay, bring it next week. Sure. I didn't want to sign with them because I felt unsure the whole time. I'm getting $100 for house shows. No, $150 for house shows, $100 for TV. They would dock you $50 because you're on TV. Wow. The exposure should be worth it. Yeah.
Wow.
So imagine 3 towns of house shows and a 4th town of TV. And so like for the whole shebang, I'm making $450 handling my hotel and gas and car rental or whatever. But that's why 4 guys chip in. Anyway, Ole Anderson was the boss at that time, and I ended up telling Mike Graham finally that I was leaving, and he tried to get me to stay just by offering me an extra $50 a week, and I was just like, man, I really think the universe is telling me I should leave. And I've told this story lots of times, how Chris Benoit came up to me in the dressing room. He was more experienced than me and getting paid way more than me. And he said, I heard you're leaving. I think you're fucking stupid. You leaving here for what? To go to the indie scene? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you crazy? Do you know how many people are at the indie scene that would give their fucking left leg to be where you are right now? You're on TV. You're getting exposure. What you're doing right now, everyone's seeing, and you're going to go to these little fucking spot shows? That's going to help your career? So anyway, I quit. I still got my contracts from WCW.
Do you?
Yeah. And then right away, I started making so much more money for my time. I'm glad that I followed the guidance. And in 2007, when I chose not to resign with WWE, Chris Benoit comes out to me and says, hey, I heard you're leaving. Deja vu.
Wow.
He said, I just want you to know a lot of us here respect you for doing that, man. I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm not saying I'll never come back. He goes, no. That doesn't matter, man. You know that it's time to go. See, we don't know. We don't have the sense. We don't know when it's time to go, and you know. And I just want you to know we look up to you for that and respect you. And I was like, okay, well, thanks. I need this. And then he said, you want some protein? He grabbed some protein powder and taught me how to do the dry scoop right there because I didn't have a shaker. But I did bring that up. I was like, dude, do you remember telling me in WCW you thought I was fucking crazy because I felt like leaving was best for me then, and he just said something passive along the lines of, I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about, or something like that, something to the effect of, yeah, well, don't listen to me. I don't know. I don't know exactly what he did say, actually. I said, you remember? Let's see if I can find that in my head. I was like, when you told me you thought I was crazy for leaving WCW to go to the indie scene. And yeah, he just said something like, well, obviously I didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So, little vindication. I feel like I use that word a lot. My autobiography might be called Vindicated, because really that is this whole stage in life. That's how I'm doing business now, how the universe is treating me, and it's rewarding, and I'm grateful and happy to be here, Dom.
Heck yeah, Rob. Wow, that's a good story too, though. Like, it's like you're leaving WCW, Benoit gives you the riot act, and then here he's like, "Hey, pat you on the back then for leaving for WWE."
Yeah, and when I left WCW, by the way, I started running shows with the promoter there, who was a friend of mine, Greg Price, who ran South Atlantic or booked for them.
Yeah.
And so now I'm running shows with him. So if there is a profit at the show, then we're splitting that. And besides that, I'm getting paid to wrestle, and I'm selling my own merchandise, which I would have 2 tables of everything: foam nunchucks, ninja stars, VHS tapes that I bought at the dollar store, and everything. And I was selling sponsorships for the show and getting 25% of that. So I went from making $100, on a TV, from spending that same day, possibly making thousands.
Wow. How about that? Jeez.
No.
So, because I was going to follow up too. At this time too, you're still relatively young in the business and stuff like that. How much time would you kind of seek advice either from like Sabu or the Sheik about like certain situations like that when you were unhappy somewhere in WCW, or were you just kind of being like, I am making more money on the indie scene, and that's motivation enough for me? Or did you kind of bend their ear a little bit to kind of see what their opinion was?
At that time, I used them for my go-to reference for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I really miss having that around with the Sheik. And I can't, and obviously now I'm a lot more experienced, so
Sure, yeah,
I got my own decision-making power, but for everything back then, and I don't remember calling Sheik and or Sabu and telling them, hey, I'm thinking about leaving TV. Do you think I'm fucking nuts? But I'm 100% sure that I did.
Yeah.
And I would have to ask Sabu. I don't remember. I do remember calling when it came to working for Eddie Mansfield. Eddie Mansfield was blackballed in the business at the time because he went on 2020 and exposed the business and took a blade, cut his forehead. Everybody was hating him in the business for it. And then he's running shows again, which, he didn't think he would ever be in it again when he did that. But now he's at Universal Studios. They got TV. They're hooking up some of the wrestlers with TV productions that they were filming back then. Swamp Thing, Superboy. Some of the shows that Universal was doing, it just all around seemed like a really good opportunity to be in the entertainment industry. But Eddie had this black cloud around his name. And I totally remember having that conversation, talking to Sheik on the phone. Everyone tells me if I work for him that I'll be blackballed. Let me not get ahead of myself. Sheik said, fuck everyone. He said, you go ahead. He said, you go ahead and work for Eddie. He's a good guy. Tell him I said hello. Fuck what everyone else says. And that's the way that the Sheik would advise me.
How about that? Nice.
Yeah. He did the same thing when I asked about shaking hands with the wrestler handshake. Everyone's telling me I'm crushing them because I'm trying to shake like a man. And they're telling me you got to be Luke, what?
Yeah.
His answer was always, fuck what everyone says. You listen to me. And I did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it paid off. Look at that, huh?
Yeah, no, I'm glad. No regrets there. I'm so glad that I got trained by someone so original that I could be known as one of a kind without being not stabbing people and throwing fire and bringing a snake. Everything he did that was original at the time, I'm none of that. But I did learn how to make myself stand out, obviously. And it's a lot of wrestling schools probably can't teach you that if you don't already have it.
Right. and I know I've said this several times, but the reason I like doing this show, not only because I'm doing it with you, but it's like I'm learning about the Sheik, and it's like he's like becoming one of my favorite wrestlers. Just hearing about him, and I really kind of like. So that's awesome. Cool. Wow, that's wild to think about Ole in that. Like he was that kind of part of that aspect of WCW at your time, like at an early time like that. Wow.
Yep, and he obviously didn't think that I should be winning matches at that time. And I resented being there.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you on that regard. Yeah.
I'm sure he didn't miss me when I left.
Yeah. He doesn't seem like the type of guy. A bit of a curmudgeon, if you will.
Yes, that's what I've heard.
Yes.
That's the word on the street.
The word on the street. That's the word on the street. R.I.P. though. Hey guys, the show is presented this week by Get Blitzed. The promo code is RVD, so it's easy to remember. And you get 15% off. Get Blitz Lit Aid nano-infused THC syrup is cannabis-infused syrup formulated with nanotechnology for fast-acting effects. It's by Mickey Rice and Courtney. Get Blitz Lit Aid Nano is THC syrup stands out with its advanced nanotechnology formulation, which allows for quicker onset and enhanced potency compared to regular THC syrups. And it's Delta 9, guys. And it's legal in all 50 states. So you don't have to worry about anything like that, any complications there. It can be mixed with your favorite beverage, such as soda, tonic water, or juice, or used as a drizzle for food, even in a delicious cannabis experience. Plus, I've also heard tea is good in too. So try that out. They have several different flavors, but go to get-blitz.com and use RVD to get 15% off. It's a great product. I know Kevin Nash is a big fan of it. I'm excited to get a bottle and try it out. My dang cat stole the last batch, so hopefully I can get one and see how it is. So
your cat drank it?
My cat drank it. He's still buzzing off of it. And that was like how many weeks ago? So Razor's flipping out over here somewhere.
Cats are great. I've never been a cat person, but it's one of those things that, like, recently in my life, I'm fascinated with them, and I would love to have one if I could have it not run away, but there's no way because we have a doggy door.
Oh, yeah. They'll get out. Dude, they're so fun, though. It's like they're just their own personality. They're so weird sometimes. But, like, my cat, I can hold him and hang out with him, and he's very affectionate, but he does his own shit too, where he goes nuts and runs around.
Yeah, I love all animals, and I follow a lot of animal, I follow a lot, and they pop up a lot too on Instagram. Just different. I mean, like I love otters, I love baby sloths, I love monkeys, I love kangaroos. But one thing, and I probably said this before, but I've learned from watching these videos that all animals feel love, all of them.
Yeah.
Makes me feel very bad about being a meat eater, which, that would be a great conversation to hold a whole show on, topical with some, and I've always thought earlier in life, maybe like I always knew, like the older I get, the more I'll learn, the more I'll clean up my diet, and that'll offset some aging. And it's been completely true. I've always been right on par with what I thought I would, but I've always also thought maybe someday I think that I might quit eating animals simply on a moral ground because I feel really bad to kill them and eat them. And when you watch the animals that cuddling with each other or with humans or playing or whatever, and I mean, it seems like everything, every animal from a cow to a damn beaver, like what the hell? I mean, shit. I even see people with pet chickens or a dog and a chicken that are buddies and hang out.
Yeah, they're hanging out and stuff. Yeah.
Man, chickens you think of as, like Katie says, being soulless. Like that's one of the staples of my diet is eating chicken, and God, I hate to think that, that they actually have a little enjoyment in their life and stuff. And shit, I saw a little baby chickie on Instagram, and it was surrounded by all these little baby ducklings when it was little. And then it showed when they're older, and adults, they're still all together and they're in the water, and the fucking chicken is just floating on the water like a duck, and he thinks he's a duck.
Yeah.
Because he got raised around them and everything. And it's just like animals are like so fascinating. It's being so animal loving like I am, it's very conflicting inside of my head and my moral system to eat animals, that I could never hunt them myself to do it, even though a lot of people will say, well, what's the difference? You're part of if someone else is shooting it or you're shooting it, you're still eating it and supporting that. And yes, I am. I know that. I'm not saying I'm not. I'm just saying I couldn't be that guy.
Yeah, I couldn't either. It's tough. Like, I mean, I'm not a vegetarian, so it's, you kind of think about that and you put things in perspective when you see like a cow on Instagram or something like that. And I know my uncle used to run like a dairy farm and there'd be baby cows there. And it's just like completely, wow. It's tough to think about something.
I've seen this girl come to the fence and whistle or make some kind of noise, and the cow came running over all excited like a dog, and she was like hugging it and petting it, and the cow was like so happy to see her. And I'm like, man, I don't even know if I want to know that. Like, that changed my thought. I'm like, is it okay? But that's a huge discussion. Like, the people that are stronger on their feelings about it will say, well, our teeth are made, to break down meat because we're carnivores and this and that. And it's like, yeah, I get all that. But I also know a lot of really healthy vegetarians.
That's true too. It is true. I know some people do need meat in their diet, but there's other alternate ways too to get what you need to, and a lot of that stuff too.
Apparently so. Yeah. By the way, I was thinking like, I think a lot, like when I'm working on about the podcast, like maybe I think about something that I want to bring up, and there's so many, I'm thinking maybe I should just have like a fitness point of the week or something, but
you should actually. Did you see how well that one video did of you talking about the diet?
Yeah, I think I
we got some pretty good hits. Yeah,
I got to go back and probably look at the comments. I saw it when it was posted for one day or something, and it was doing good. But anyway, well, I mean, this is kind of related to it, but a point I wanted to make was that throughout my whole career, I mostly, like, I averaged 235. Mm-hmm. If I got down below 230, then I wasn't happy. I felt like, and that's. And I was happiest at 235. If I weighed 238, I was even happier. So let me change that. When I got to 240, and sometimes it'd be 245, the heaviest I got was 252. And that was all when I was in WWE. Like in the first couple of years when I was there, but actually my whole career I was like about that. So I felt stronger at 240 and 245. Mm-hmm. But my veins weren't popping out, like they are now. And I had a different agenda then. And I just wanted to point out, the business and how much it's changed. The reason I always felt pressure to keep my weight on was because I was 185 pounds when I graduated high school, telling people I'm going to be a professional wrestler. It wasn't like I had any natural gifts anybody could see. I was always looked at as being a smaller guy, and the average wrestler was probably 275 or whatever, 255. They all always looked at me like a lot of people thought I was a junior weight, which I wasn't much over the line. But and I did have I competed in some matches with that. But anyway, what I want to point out is that now the industry has changed so much that if I'm 220 pounds, I'm not even close to being small for the industry. You know what I mean? That's something that I just want to point out, is that the size of the wrestler has changed so much that if the I don't want to use the word. Well, okay, if the pressure was there to keep the weight up, and I had standards set and an agenda set on those goals, then now it's so much more relaxing to not worry. I don't want to, like, if I get 215, then I start going, whoa, I need to eat more the next couple of days, but that's for my own self standards, but it's not because of the industry, because now, I mean, a lot of wrestlers are under 200 pounds, a lot of them, a lot. And I just want to point that out. I don't know if a lot of people have noticed that or not. So for me, being in this business over decades, generations, when you think about it, I felt like I needed to be 240, 245 when I was in WWE and the Intercontinental Champion, and I was on TV doing this, and I was in there with Test and fucking, you know, all the, I don't know, he just came up to my mind. I'm just thinking, thought of that year, and I thought of being in the ring. Bob Holly, you know, anybody, whoever I was in the ring with. And now, you know, I mean, it's rare. I mean, there's a Brian Cage, sure. There's a couple of guys like that. Look at Billy Gunn.
Billy Gunn, yeah.
But you know, but when you look at the average wrestler, like that's such a non-factor anymore. And people can have their own takes on, well, the drugs used to be more part of the business back then, and they probably were. They were recreational and enhancing, I would imagine, and that's part of it. But also just overall, you know, Vince always looked for giants, and the style back then when I was a fan and got into wrestling, and I was watching Uncle Elmer and King Kong Bundy and Andre the Giant, Big John Studd, and these really big guys, Earthquake and One Man Gang. They weren't doing moonsaults and dives over the rope and stuff like that, but the style has changed like so much that guys that can't do that stuff wouldn't have a job nowadays.
Yeah, it's crazy to think in that light too. Do you think from a physical looking standpoint and stuff like that, is it something that's missing from the business, or do you think it's kind of just the evolution of the business of how it's kind of going? Hey, you know, you see like maybe like somebody like I'm just Adam Cole, or like Orange Cassidy or somebody like that has a different, smaller, normal body type. Is that a loss to the business, or kind of a gain in a certain way that they're able to do all this athletic stuff?
Right. You know, that's a great question. And I feel both ways about it. I think if you would have asked me a year or two ago, I would have really leaned towards saying it's missing, you know, like in order to be a wrestler, I feel like should have been, and should be still. I mean, there's certain qualities. What do you want in a pro wrestler? You want here's a guy that is he's a fighter, right? In the art form that you are watching, you're being entertained by watching this fighting art where dudes are beating the shit out of each other. Not only are they back in the day incredibly athletically gifted, like compared to you, because you're a fat ass that sits on the couch and, you know, never moves and watches TV all day. So even if you are watching guys that only go up to the second rope, you're still like, whoa, that guy went off the second rope. Anyway, the standards were different back then. But the wrestlers, by them being bigger, they had more of the, whoa, I wouldn't want to fuck with that guy effect. They were more intimidating, and maybe that made them more of a draw. You know, I mean, who wouldn't want to see Andre the Giant, you know, for instance? But also the Ultimate Warrior, he was like so intense, and part of his intensity was his body. I hadn't seen a wrestler that looked like that before, and I was so drawn to that. So I think part of that is missing because, you know, while I'm still on that side, leaning towards that, you can also say that a lot of fans would be like, I could kick this guy's ass. And I don't think that's a good thing that fans can feel that way, you know, and or even think that they, you know, that way. But then on the other side, it also is evolution, you know, being a monster, it still has its value. But now, if we already got a monster, maybe we got a couple of monsters, that's enough. We don't really need another huge guy. We already got one of those. You know, what else do you got? Because now that's just a gimmick. That's just like, you know, you're a big guy. Okay, stand over there next to the midget, next to the lady wrestler. That's how it used to be with lady wrestlers. You know what I mean? There'd be a special attraction.
Yeah.
That's not as important anymore. And I think I'm okay with that as far as it just evolving and what can we do about it, but watch it evolve. Through that, we've gotten a much more physical style. You know, all the wrestlers are doing shit that only like one guy in a show would do before, you know, and that, you know, and flips, dives, whatever. Like now it's part of wrestling. And man, when I went to Katie's school 8 years ago when I met her, and she was doing hurricanranas like off the top rope, before she even had the headlock down. And I was like, whoa, like that. I'm not okay with that. That's the extreme that I'm bringing up, but I am okay because I have to be with it evolving, and the advantages are that we get more athletic guys, and when the guys are taking that punishment in the ring with their bodies and stuff, in order for the fans to really feel like they could kick that guy's ass, they got to be pretty stupid anyway. Because come on, dude, you're not gonna get hit and get taking those bumps and stuff and survive, dude. You're in the hospital after one bump. You're a regular dude,
Yeah.
All wrestlers are like made tougher and conditioned, and that's just a fact. But so now it's becoming something that more people can get into, and part of that reason is because the physical standards aren't the same anymore. So a lot of fans that say, "Hey, I want to be a wrestler," well, they got a lot better chance now because of a lot of reasons, but that's one of the reasons is because the standards for your physical appearance aren't as important. So since it's going towards a work-friendly environment where equal opportunity is there and all the old habits are out, sure, make it something that anybody can get into, I guess. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see anybody get into it. You still should have to prove yourself. Mm-hmm. But I'm okay with it evolving in that way because it's more athletic. And I helped bridge that gap, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely you did. And we talked about that too, and you've talked about it too, how sometimes, a lot of these guys grew up watching you and they see the moves that you do, but sometimes that gets missed, the little details that you were putting into it that Sheik taught you, that Sabu taught you and stuff like that. And that aspect is getting missed. They see it more of the video game thing that they do and things like that. So it's true. It's the changing of things and stuff. So, and it's kind of weird to think too, because if you look back, obviously in the early 90s, mid 90s, you had the bigger guys, you had that stuff. So any smaller guys that would come around, like you think about like a Sean Waltman or like even an Owen Hart to a certain extent, they would kind of stand out in their own way because they were different than everybody else you'd see on TV.
Yeah, I mean, the 1, 2, 3 kid or Lightning Kid, whatever they called him, was the biggest underdog ever.
Yeah.
Because he was like, oh my God, look how small that kid is. And that's why it was a huge deal when he finally rolled up Razor Ramon with a moonsault, which now would be an opening spot at best. When the Razor was standing and caught him with like this backwards crossbody moonsault kind of thing, and that was the finish if I remember right. And it was like, whoa, what was that? And it worked. Mm-hmm. It was, now he's average size wrestler probably.
Yeah. It was crazy when I first met the Road Dogg. I couldn't believe how big he was. Road Dogg is a big dude, but you look at like everybody else that was on television at the time, it's all like, in comparison to that, he kind of looked like a normal guy in comparison to everybody else, but he's a massive dude.
Right. Yeah. That's the comment that I have heard throughout my career, probably more than any other comment.
Yeah.
Is people are surprised that I'm bigger than they thought I was if they hadn't seen me in person before. I had dudes, 175-pound dudes be like, man, I thought we were the same size. And it's like, this is actual size. I don't know what to tell you. I never added weight to my weight because I didn't think it'd be believable because I was always heavier than I looked anyway. So I always just went with my shoot weight. Now, if I do a weigh-in, I might be 221 and they might still announce me as 235. But if they ask me, then I'll say like 230 or whatever, or it might be closer to 230. I don't know. They don't actually like always weigh you right before the matches. I don't know if I'm giving away a big secret, but yeah, my whole career I was always like, I'm not gonna add it. Sometimes when I was like 240, I would still wrestle as 235, and I was like, they still think I'm 185 5 anyway. So what the hell?
It's crazy. Seth, he chimed in about the animals here. Thanks for the $5, Seth. Dude, it seems like once animals have basics like food and shelter, they start acting human. I kind of want to stop eating meat too, he said. It is tough. It's very tough, Seth.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I've thought of for so long. And like I said, I've been on my path. Like a lot of shit that I predicted or felt like was going to happen has happened. So I wouldn't be surprised if I at least try it for a while. And I love meat though, but a lot of that also has to do with the demand of keeping my weight up. If I say I'm retired, say I don't have to keep my weight up and my muscles up, and it's okay if I straight down, to a lighter weight or whatever, maybe I'd be able to try some of that food. But actually I haven't really liked a whole lot that I tried, but I think there is good tasting fake food out there. But that's weird. That's weird. They want me to think it's a hamburger, but it's not. It's an Impossible Burger. Yeah, it's impossible to think this is a burger. I already know it's not. If you wouldn't have told me and just said, "Here, try this vegetarian source of protein," I might have liked it. But I'm sure I haven't tried very much of what's out there. So, that's something that I will learn more about. But I see videos of families that rescue animals. So many of them that are like, say it's a baby deer or even like a baby. Man, I don't know. There's something. I don't even know what they are. Porcupines, raccoons. Sometimes they find them and they look like little bugs, and they go through the story. I found this sick baby that was dying out in the woods, and then they show it with a little incubator. Giving it, and it shows them grow, and then finally they release them in the wild, and they come back like with their whole family, of deer or of kangaroo or of whatever it is. They come back and they bring a whole bunch of other animals with them, and it's just like, man, that story, if that's real, because I mean I've seen it with so many different animals that I'm, it's almost like, hey, there's a pattern here. But
hey, you know what? What's going on here?
I've seen this story, but it wasn't chipmunks last time. Yeah. But so many of them, like Seth just said, it seems like they get domesticated and then they appreciate it, and then they fucking have hearts, man. Love is a chemical reaction in your brain that's releasing oxytocin, and it's the same endorphin that's released from mothers when they're breastfeeding their babies, which is really weird. But I guess it's not that weird. You think that's weird? By the way, I keep seeing these breastfeeding moms on Instagram now. It's a thing. And like I forwarded a couple of them because I was talking about it. Now that I did that, they just keep coming in.
They just pop up on there then. Yeah, it's like,
because I saw that show, What Would You Do? Which I love that show. I haven't seen it in a long time and picked it up again. I said, hey, I want to watch the new ones. And it was about breastfeeding in public. And I didn't realize that I have not really identified my feelings on that. I didn't know it was that big of a deal. But every time a mom would be breastfeeding, they would have an actor, say, can you do that somewhere else? That's disgusting. And then all the real people see how they react. And everybody was like, hey, why don't you go somewhere else? She's just feeding her baby. Leave her alone. And everyone was so protectant of the baby that I'm like, am I a heel because I think that's awkward when someone's breastfeeding their baby in public? Like, I don't want to be the heel. Like, is that, I mean, I don't know if I have I don't have a problem with it. I don't think I would ever like say anything to someone.
Yeah, right. But you like it just.
But it does. It is awkward, and it's way better when they have a blanket over and they're covering it up. Still a little bit awkward, Like, oh, okay. But it made me think about that, and then I saw it on Instagram, and then animals love people and each other.
They do. Seth even mentions it's that the channel's like the Dodo, as he's like those rescue videos on the Dodo are so uplifting.
I follow them.
That's a good channel there.
Okay, yeah, man, it's amazing.
How about that? All right, we'll go out with this one here, Rob. This super chat. Will Ospreay made his official debut on AEW as a roster member. He's been on the show before, but he was on last Dynamite, and he's gonna be on Revolution this Sunday here coming up. Alexander, thanks for the $2. Alexander Fitzgerald. He says RVD versus Ospreay. That would be a cool mesh of styles. I'm sure you've talked about that a lot too, about working with.
Yeah, I see that quite often. It's a request that fans say that they would really want to see. And I think that we're both pioneers from different time periods. You know, I mean, I brought in a lot of stuff and style back in the day that has become the style, and then I think he's done the same thing, showing us stuff, you know, that takes it to the next level in that direction. So I get it. That would be cool. Is it possible? I guess so. Right now, I don't know what AEW, if anything. I don't know what to expect. Our ideology tells me not to have expectations, but we talked about my win-loss record last week. I'm 2-3 on my AEW so far. So, if he wants to bring me in just to give the kids these fantasy matches, then hey, it's not a bad position to be in to be able to do that. If he wants to just bring me in when he's got wrestlers that are injured and needs someone to step in, still not a bad position to be in. I'm, a gun for hire, and I like my position in that, and if he wants to do something more, then I certainly don't know about it right now. But he always says, that he loves working with me. He, meaning Tony, and I love. And he's a great guy and always says he wants to do it again. So don't know. I've heard that one a lot, the Will Ospreay. One that I was hearing a lot also, maybe not quite as much, but close to it, was Speedball Mike Bailey.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that very early Robby V vibes because he doesn't wear the shoes.
Yeah, and so that match was actually booked. WrestleCon weekend. Yep.
Wait, really? I didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
Oh, how's about that?
On that Thursday.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Heck yeah, man. That's
at awesome. The ECW arena, as a matter of fact. So
dang, that'll be a doozy.
Yeah.
Jeez. We actually had a couple more super chats in there since that last one. This one's an overall question. Thomas V. Canadian, thank you, 279. What's the best piece of advice you could give anyone, Rob?
I would say the best piece of advice I could give anyone is, as long as you're doing your best, that's all anyone can ask for you. And if you can't do any more, then you can't do anything about it. Don't sweat it. Worry about what you can control.
Heck yeah. That's some great advice right there. Salvador M follows up. Thank you for the $5. He says, why wasn't...
By the way, let me expand on that. When I say doing your best, I don't necessarily mean at everything. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean like... just because I'm drawing, I'm going to always draw my best or right. Just because it doesn't mean, I'm going to go jogging. So I'm going to have like the best jog ever and beat my record every day. It's not about that. It's about doing your best at being you and balancing everything together in the overall big picture of everything. As long as you're doing your best with everything that you got and stuff, good job.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to put it too, for sure. Salvador, he says, why wasn't skinny Joey Malerno a bigger deal? Was it because he was in Philly? He seemed like he would have been the next mob superstar.
Joey Malerno is and always was a big deal. Like, I think that maybe just in your world, he isn't as big. Or I guess maybe you mean like in mainstream, because he's not like as well known as like John Gotti or Al Capone, but very few are, and Joey Malerno, he's been the boss of Philadelphia for quite some time. And, he was involved in the wars with John Stanfa, and he was responsible for a lot of a lot of things that happen, and he's connected to a lot of people in different families. So I would beg to differ and say that if you or the mainstream, however you're looking at that, didn't know of him, then you probably also wouldn't know of John Stanfa, and you probably also wouldn't know of
Here's some other names that he's Chucky Merlino, Ralph Natali,
yeah,
Prevati.
Right, but I'm trying to think of the little guy's name, Scarfo. I was trying to think of Nicky Scarfo's name.
Oh, Nicky Scarfo. Okay.
Yeah, so Nicky Scarfo is one of the bigger names to come out of Philly, but probably still, because the movie hasn't been made about him or anything, probably most of the mainstream probably hasn't heard about him. And by the way, Chucky Merlino, you're talking about Joey Merlino's dad. And he has a podcast, and I think I heard that. Well, I know I heard this. I just don't know for sure if this is a fact. But I heard that he just left YouTube and just went to Patreon right now only. But he was doing YouTube, and I thought it was fascinating that he's the only guy that I know of that is a current mobster currently. And he's going to say he's not in it anymore, but he never flipped. He never testified. He just did his time. He just served his time like he's did many other times. He served his time in jail and got out, went back to work, went to jail, got out, went back to work. And now he's doing a podcast, and everyone considers him the current boss still of Philly. So that's pretty fascinating that, and he comes across as very respectable, and I like him. He's likable, very stern on his values, though. People like that, sometimes I feel like, hey, lighten up a little. I'm afraid I'm going to offend them. Like my friend Chuck Zito, same thing. I'm afraid they're going to say, what'd you say? I mean, what did I say? Like I'm just silly. I'm goofy. Don't mind me, but that's my answer to that Joey Merlino, Ralph. Yeah, I guess you can put Ralph Natali up in there. What'd you do? Just look that up? You Googled?
I did. I looked on Wikipedia, and there was those closest names associated with him. I was seeing.
Oh, that's cool. Riccoboni brothers. John Vesey. Okay, he's in this war. Is this time? Is it John Stanfa and Nicky, or is it Joey Merlino? It's Joey Merlino and John Stanfa in the Philadelphia War. And anyway, this guy, John Vesey, he's one of a handful of guys from mafia stories that I know about that got shot in the head and then was able to just turn around, get the gun from the guy, fucking outfight him and run away.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of those things that always makes me think, like, could I do that? Just like when someone falls from a 40-story building and they survive. I'm always like, what are the odds? Like, it's not fair. Like, how come they get to it? But John Vesey, they put the hit on him and boom. I can't remember how many times he got shot in the head, but it didn't work. And Frank Collada did the same thing to Erwin Lister out here in Las Vegas. Same thing. Boom, boom, boom. And Erwin said, "Wow, what are you doing?" And ran. And Ken Ito in Chicago, the Japanese mobster, same thing. And he was in the driver's seat of a car, and they shot him from behind. Boom, boom, and he played dead, and they left him, and he went and flipped. Obviously, what are you going to do at that point? But
yeah, geez, right?
Yeah. But that's amazing, though. And is there anybody else? That's all because my mind, I guess, right now is those three. But I think there might be someone else if I thought long enough about it. And it's so amazing because it's like, dude, you got shot like 3 times. But sometimes it's like they do half loads where they only put half of the gunpowder in the bullet to, I don't know, it's to make it quieter or whatever. And that doesn't go as hard. There's so many variables, incredible factors that you just probably couldn't control, but it gives me hope. Things like that gives me hope, where it's like, hey, I don't know that would kill me.
Yeah.
I can
the adrenaline's pumping, all that stuff going on. It's like maybe get in Tony Montana mode, It's just like you get loaded with bullets and still keep going. That's crazy, though.
We're going to talk about that when I have my RVDology here in a minute.
Ooh.
My moment of zen for those who care.
Heck yeah.
Even though Katie's going, it's been long enough.
Do you want to? Are you ready for an RVDology? We can go right now. If you want.
It don't matter. Is there any more questions? Katie says yes.
Yeah, let's get going.
By the way, there's no more super chats.
Yep, no, we're good on super chats. So the floor is yours, Rob.
All right, cool. Yeah, I like having guests sometimes, but also I like to talk. So sometimes I like to be the only one sharing my insights. So I enjoyed today's show. I like the stories that are sparked when I think about stuff when we're talking, and a lot of this is stuff that I haven't shared with anybody, you know, and that's how my book's going to be. That's how all the RVDology episodes are, stories no one's ever heard. That's how we need to plug this One of a Kind podcast, by the way, is like, get a different take on something, or, you know, because,
yeah,
you know, but so what I chose to talk about today is, you know, a lot of people would and do tell me that I seem very balanced. What does that mean? We know what it means physically. I think it means the same thing emotionally or mentally or overall. If you're balanced, then it means, let's say you're centered. If you're off balance, obviously, you know, you're being pulled in different directions, and you're off center. And people can tell that sometimes if they know you. You just seem off balance. You know, are you all right? Or maybe you tell it about yourself. You know, and it's because you're stressed out and you're distracted by a lot of things, and you just don't have your balance. So how do we keep balanced? There's a lot of different ways, but what I want to talk about is emotion, because emotion throws you off center. It clouds your ability to make intelligent decisions. You were just talking about getting in a Tony Montana rage. I can't think of any scenario where being angry might really be an advantage. All right. You can't make good decisions when you're angry. You know what it does? You watch, I love Road Rage and Road Wars, 2 TV shows I recommend, because it's real footage and it's real people. Getting angry, 1, it makes people make horrible decisions, but 2, for some reason, it makes everybody's ego inflate to where they all think they can kick anybody's ass. And I'm always amazed at that. I'm watching these people on TV that have probably never even been in a fight, and they're just like, oh, I'm going to kill you. And it's because they're so mad. And or sometimes I'll get a baseball bat and they just feel confident. It's like, all I know is if anybody comes to me, you know, they're going to get this upside their head. Well, they're probably not if you've never even swung it at somebody. And then you watch the incident and they're like, oh, and then it doesn't work. Now what? There goes your whole plan. But it's weird how anger throws off your ability. And it's not just anger, but that's an emotion that people really need to work on, because hey, anger is not a good emotion. Most people listening, 100% of you probably get more angry than I do. And that probably doesn't surprise you. When I'm angry, it makes me feel sick. You know, like I can't wait to recover. Like I'm just like, I got this rage in me. Yeah, I don't like it. You know, I'm not happy. I'm off balance. I'm disconnected from my internal universal plug-in from my pathway, because negative thoughts do that, and it changes my vibration. But being as balanced as I might appear, I think people would also be surprised to know that I'm only a little bit off either way from just falling over the whole time. It's just a matter of considering everything and then making the right decision. So I have crazy violent thoughts that go through my mind. I can't, whenever I'm up somewhere high, like on the rooftop of a 40-story building and I'm looking down, I can't help but imagine jumping. every time. And it's not just something that I just think of in my head. I feel it in my gut. And I jump and I feel the momentum, you know, like the gravity just pulling me down. And I just think like, wow, if I did that right now, how much could that change the day? And it's crazy. And of course, I'm not going to do that. But the thoughts that go through my head like that, you know, I mean, come on. Sometimes, you know, you walk by somebody, or I might walk by somebody that's really old and fragile. And that sticks out in my mind. Like, wow, this lady next to me is so old and fragile. And I will have horrible, ridiculous thoughts that I would never do that are horrible, of like, how hurt would she be if I just like shoved her into the wall, you know? And I laugh saying that because it's just so ridiculous.
Right. Yeah.
Same thing, like if someone's holding a baby, I used to always just imagine like that little baby is like so vulnerable, that like that whole life is like a basketball in that lady's arms. Like, what if I just spiked it like right out of her arm, you know? And I was like, why? I used to think like, why do I have thoughts like this? But now I know that stuff keeps me balanced. And I think for some people, it's just a matter of not making the right decision. They do horrible things. And I'm talking about crazy people. I'm talking about psychotic murderers, people that kill people, or sometimes you see videos of people pushing someone out in front of a train. I've seen that. And it's like, that's the same thing. Obviously, the thought went through his head, but he decided to do it. I'm waiting for the train. And right before it gets there, he goes, boom, and he pushes this lady out in front of it. I would never do that, but my brain scans all the attainable, accessible options as often as possible. And I try to see the bigger picture. I try to consider the consequences before I make my decisions. And this is all part of what keeps me balanced, you know? Police, when they yell at people, they're purposely trying to make them emotional to overcome their senses. You know, that's why they scream at people. You know, get down on the ground, put your hands behind your back. You know, quit resisting. They scream at them so much the people are overwhelmed and they don't know what to do. You know, they're like, oh, what's going on? And then the cops end up like tackling them, beating them up, getting in trouble. You were resisting. Why weren't you complying? Because you just confused the fuck out of them by screaming at them. Happens all the time, and cops know that. I honestly believe they know that they're doing that, and that's part of their job. I think that that they enjoy, but some of them. I can think of, you know, like let's say when I try to think of an exception to, like, I want to say being angry would always make the situation worse. Is there any situation that would be better by being angry? And I'm trying to think about that. Like, let's say you're a savage, brutal barbarian warrior in the front lines of two armies clashing, and you got a shield and a sword, and you're like, ah! You're just chopping heads off and stabbing, and maybe it could give you some extra anger, you know, via the adrenaline release and the cortisol, and that's probably going to happen. Are you going to be as accurate with your skills, with your physical moves, as if you had a clear mind? Maybe. You know, there's exceptions to everything, and that's like one that's really hard to come up with, where being angry is going to be better. For the most part, all it does is make things worse. It gives you a bad vibe. Once you got a bad vibe, boom, there goes your fucking day, you know, until you can recover. One reason that people, you know, I talked last week about people considering themselves a victim, you know, saying like, well, you know, hey, at least that'll make my doctor happy, or feeling like they're not in control. It's someone else's in control. It's like, oh, I don't know. Apparently they want me to do this and I got to do that. And we all feel like that sometimes, but some people, that's their default, and they like to feel controlled. And those are sheeple. You know, no offense if that's you, but it's an easy way to just go with the current sometimes. I don't know why I'm going this way. Everyone else is going this way. I'm just that's how I see that. But the thing about it is like those people feel like they're not getting treated fairly a lot of times. And so if you look at that as being in your control, like if, you know what I mean? Like if it's like, people that want to get into feeling like they're victim, it gives them someone to blame. You know what I mean? Something to blame. Like, you know, like I really do need to smoke pot. I got 2 discs in my back that are compressed, and like it hurts like a motherfucker if I don't smoke. So I actually do need to smoke. You know, it's like, dude, let's not, you know, like I said before, we could compare injuries and X-rays and MRIs if you want, but, and I'm not, and that might, and it does probably come across as unsympathetic to those people who are victims, and there are. I mean, sometimes life just really fucks you over, and boom, you know, you are right. Sometimes you are a victim of life. An accident happened. You're, you know, amputated, whatever. But the people that come back from that, and that becomes a very small part of their life instead of their whole life, those people are so much happier, and they vibrate in such a different, successful, natural way that you don't even want to bring up that you notice that they have a fake hand or whatever, you know, a prosthetic, because for them, you know, they're getting on along without it, whereas other people, it'd be easy to be like, no, I can never work again, I can never do this or that, and other people would be like, you know, fuck that. And anyway, those are all like emotion driven things, you know. I don't even know how that victim and being fair and blaming really relates to emotion. But making the right decisions is done when you're not only clear-headed, but when you're vibrating in a positive vibration. And you got to feel good and be happy in order to do that. And when you vibrate at a high vibration, then you are at your best. You're the best version of you. And it's a fact. That's when you're going to make the best decisions, is when you're at the best version of you. So when you're making decisions, when you feel like you have reason to be angry or scared, panicky, you're not going to make the best decisions. You know, you're not centered. And you do have a center. You have your own center that hopefully you can find it, and hopefully you can work on staying there, and hopefully you can be balanced, because being balanced is very important. And I can't tell everyone don't have any emotion. Emotion can be a great thing. Emotion can be joy and pleasure and happiness and love, and all of those are emotion. I'm very stoic, and there's a whole philosophy on stoicism that will agree with almost everything that I ever tell you. And the truth is, it's one of those things that, yes, it can be good. It can also be very bad, because emotions can be anger and fear, and either way, even the happiest decisions, like, oh my God, I'm like so happy. I'm going to buy everybody around. Lap dances for everybody. This is the best night ever. And then they get your credit card statement. You're like, I did what?
Oh no.
Being balanced is about being centered, and that is where you're going to make your best decisions and vibrate in a positive you want to vibrate in a positive vibration when you're there, and you also want to do that to get there. So that's my word for the week.
Heck yeah, I'm getting good vibrations, good stuff.
Yeah,
those emotions check, everybody.
Pay attention to your own vibrations. Yeah. Pay attention to you know, if you're angry or you're not feeling good, or you are feeling good, or you're really happy, or man, I'm in a good mood for some reason, and whew, I feel great. Or man, I don't know why, but I'm like irritable. Like the more you can, as a stoic practitioner, I would say that even the more control you have over happy emotions are more sensible if your goal is to be centered and make the most intelligent decisions. And of course, you'd rather be happy. No, fuck no, I'd rather be happy. But, you know, as I'm saying, even those, damn, I had an example and I forgot it. I'm talking too much today, dude.
It's all right. It's all right.
What was the point that I was just going to make? And then I was going to, you vibrate and you got to vibrate to get there. And then when you're there, you vibrate to that way to stay there. Pay attention to your own vibrations when you're angry, when you're pissed, when you're irritable. So if you could, instead of screaming at everybody and throwing shit around and kicking stuff, instead, if you could just articulate what you're feeling and be like, baby, I'm like really irritable right now. Dude, boom. That's the way to handle it. And you know, I do that as often as I can, and I would advise that for anybody to identify your emotions, and even if it's only to yourself or to someone else, identify them before you act on them. Be more self-aware, not just with your own priorities, but with your self vibration, and always, dude, take a moment and think it out before you act on it.
100%. Good stuff, Rob. What a great episode. Guys, go to rvdtv.com. Go to RVD's YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, like both, share it, express all that stuff. Give us a 5-star review on Apple iTunes or Spotify. Get the word out. Give us some comments, feedback, what you guys want to hear. Rob, this is always fun. Katie, it was good to have Katie on and get to meet the new dog, all that stuff. I love it. So
now, but yeah, I'll tell him.
All right.
All right, man. Thanks, Tom. Oh, and by the way, heads up, we're going to be doing a contest, and I'll have the details by next week. But I'm going to be posting a black and white RVD wrestling outfit that is a coloring project. Joe Holland has drawn this outfit, and you, the fans, are going to color it.
Hell yeah.
And if you win and do the best, coolest colored outfit, Joe Holland, the guy that's always airbrushed my outfits from day one, is going to actually airbrush the outfit that you painted and bring it to reality. And the chances I'm going to wear it afterwards, pretty good, dude.
Pretty dark. How about that? So you could create RVD's next singlet. How about that?
More details on that in the following days. We'll talk about it again next week.
Stay tuned next week here on One of a Kind with RVD. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, we'll have the link posted so you can get